up a great presentation from Colin. I'll just do a little plug for AdTech. We use them a lot, and they do amazing work there. So they do good stuff. So let me bring up my PowerPoint. Let me know if you can see it.
Yes, we can see your slides, not in the presentation mode though.
Oh, yeah.
Yes, outstanding. Thank you so much, Jim. Please take it
No
away.
problem. Just like what Colin brought up, if you have any questions, please chime in or put in the chat box. I may not see some of the chat questions, so Dominica, if you see some that you would like me to respond to right away, don't hesitate to interrupt my presentation.
Thank you.
So hi all, once again, my name is Jim Swanson. I'm with the Alaska Division of Vocational Rehabilitation. This PowerPoint is focused on transition related with students, but I want folks to know that this program's for adults as well. And so I'll kind of interchange between what we're doing for students as well as for adults. And probably for the rest of the PowerPoint, I'll use the acronym DVR, so I don't have to say Division of Vocational Rehabilitation every time we're talking about our program. A mouthful. But yeah, and I should probably let you all know this is a statewide program. So everything that I am presenting here is true for all of our offices throughout the state. And we have 5 regions. Southeast is the region I'm currently in. We also have Northern, which is our Fairbanks office. We have 2 regions in Anchorage, just because of the size of Anchorage. And then we have the Mat-Su Kenai. We have an obligation to serve anyone anywhere in the state that has applied for services with us. So if you live in rural, remote Alaska, we'll do what we can to see how we can best help serve you. So help students transition from school to the world of work. Now, how do we do that? One of the things that we've learned over the years that it's best to get to students where they're at, and that's at school. Or if they're homeschooling, nowadays there's a lot of different formats for getting an education, but we want to get them before they transition out of school. So we can help provide some of those ongoing support services as they work toward the world of work. And after high school, they might be going to a program like ACAC, they might be going to college, or they might want to do some on-the-job training. And we can look at a variety of different ways to help them get the skill sets to get those jobs. And sometimes they're not really sure what they can't do or want to do. And that's true even for adults with disabilities. Sometimes adults with disabilities have been out of the workforce for a long time as a result of their disability, and they're not sure what kind of jobs they can get into, or if it's someone that was newly injured from a car accident or has some kind of medical condition that had resulted in no longer being able to do the type of work that we were doing before, and they need some assistance on figuring out, what can I do now? So we have ways to do some career exploration to look at people's skills, abilities, aptitudes, interests, help narrow down some employment goals. And I'll get more into some of that in a little bit here. As I mentioned earlier, we're an agency that helps individuals with disabilities toward employment. And a lot of times that the word disability can throw people off. They're like, well, what do you mean by that? And sometimes I refer to, if you know of the Americans with Disabilities Act, the ADA, most things that are covered under the ADA is going to be true with the Division of Vocational Rehabilitation. So we want to let folks know that it's not just one thing that can make you eligible. It could be a lot of different types of disabilities. It can be medical condition, it can be learning disabilities like I have on these little points here, or depression, anxiety, substance use disorders, ADHD, diabetes, hearing impairments. There are a variety of different things that can make you eligible for our program. The key thing is it's not temporary. If I play hockey, if I go out and I break my leg during a hockey game, I might be laid up for a little while, um, may even have to be at home, but eventually I'm going to heal from that leg injury and be able to work full time again. And that's a temporary condition. It has to be something that's going to be impacting you for an extended period of time. It could change over time, but it's something that's going to impact you, especially in regards to the world of work, because we are an employment agency. And as Colin mentioned, APTEC is a division of the Department of Labor. We are also part of the Department of Labor. What can you expect? So when you're working with the Division of Vocational Rehabilitation, you're working directly with one of our vocational rehabilitation counselors. And the majority of the counselors that we have on staff are master's degree level individuals who are certified rehab counselors, which is a national certification. We have some counselors that might be at a counselor level 1 and working toward getting their master's program. So you're getting professional level counseling services when you're working with one of our vocational rehabilitation counselors, which is huge, because working with people with disabilities and the world of work requires some significant understanding and being able to help people bridge that gap. So they can help with identifying interests and skills, helping you develop jobs, employment goal, career paths, uh, provide work experiences. That's one of the biggest supportive service that we can do when people are unsure about the world of work, or if it's like a high school transition student who's never worked before. We can set up some work experiences to help get some of that introduction to the world of work. And of course, having a discussion about post-secondary education, such as college or vocational school. Each individual is different, so what they want and needs are different. So that's why it's really important for the rehab counselor to do a lot of that guidance and counseling with each individual. I also made sure to put in here, need to stay active and in contact. And this is true for transition age students to adults. We understand we're just a small piece in people's lives. But for us to be able to help them, it's really important for the individual to stay active and in contact with us. Stay active and in contact with us. We're definitely going to work at our butts off to try to help you get to where you want to be. How to get started? Well, there's a variety of ways to get introductions into our services. We have an orientation video, and I'll be providing this PowerPoint presentation to Dominica. So if you go through the slides and you select on watch the DVR orientation video, the link should take you right to that video so you can watch our video. Also on that same web page, it also has where you can do a self-referral. So if you don't want to initially just go into a DVR office, but you are doing it from home on your computer, you can do a self-referral and somebody will contact you. We try to contact folks within 3 days of when they did the self-referral. With holidays or weekends, it might take a little bit longer, but we try to do a quick response time getting back to you on that self-referral. And you put in the location of where you're at. So when it goes to our main DVR inbox, they will forward that online referral to the office that serves that community. So you don't have to worry about that part of it, which is pretty slick. I have found we have more and more individuals applying for services or doing the referral online than just initially going into the office. And if you have a child, or if you have a spouse, partner, or whatever that you think would be a benefit for our services, you can sit with them and do the online referral. It's only like about 4 or 5 questions. It's pretty quick and easy. Should take you less than 2 minutes to do. Meet with DVR, a vocational rehabilitation professional. As I mentioned, this is probably the most important service that we have in regards to vocational rehabilitation, is having our rehab counselors doing guidance and counseling. And the first guidance and counseling type meeting is our intake. This is where they're sitting down and getting to know you. They'll ask you a bunch of different questions, and it's just getting feedback from you and your perspective. This is way before that we're getting medical records or talking to other professionals. We want to talk just with you directly. And if you need a guardian or adult or spouse, whatever, in that meeting with you, they're more than welcome to be part of the meeting. We still want to hear from you what your challenges are and what your goals are. So I talked a little bit earlier about disability and what some of the disabilities might look like. And we are an eligibility-based program, which is different than if you might be working with employment services within a job center who works with everybody. But we only work with individuals with disabilities, and where their disability makes it challenging for them to obtain or maintain employment. So we have that aspect. Then the certified rehab counselor makes that eligibility determination based on your work history, educational history, also looks at your medical information, and other resources that might be a benefit in helping making that eligibility determination. By law, we have from the time you apply for services, and I hate bringing up timelines and all those kind of things, but I think it's important to be transparent and letting you all know what that looks like. We have up to 60 days to do that eligibility determination. And I apologize, I should have forwarded my phone. I had to do that. So my apology. We have up to 60 days to do an eligibility determination. And but it can be much sooner than that. If we get all the information quickly from medical providers or from schools or anything of that nature, as soon as we get that information, we can start working on that eligibility determination. Now, sometimes we'd have to extend that longer than 60 days. It usually is for reasons out of our control. And two of the main reasons that I've seen over the years is if it's somebody that's newly moved to Alaska from the lower 48, sometimes it's difficult to get those records. Second reason is that they don't have any documentation of their disability. They just feel like they have some struggles and challenges, and we'll work with them to get those assessments that we pay for. The individual does not have to pay for those assessments. And that also is always dependent on the professionals that we're getting the assessments from, time and schedule, which can get pushed out a long ways depending on what type of assessment it is. But once you've been made eligible, then what? So then the next step is working toward developing a plan. And we call that plan an IPE. Some of you that might be working with the school systems will hear the term IEP, the Individualized Education Plan. Ours is just like that. but is an IPE for individualized plan for employment. And that term individualized is so important. And I emphasize this to many of our clients that each IPE is different for each person. They can have exactly the same disability, but totally different IPEs because each individual comes with a different background, with a different history of where they grew up and where they went to school and maybe some different work history. So that all has, you come with a different set of tools in a sense. And that's why those plans are so individualized. So from the time they've been made eligible, we have within 90 days of doing the plan. Now that plan could be done within a week or it could take, the 90 days. It really depends on what the needs are, what the employment goal is, and what we need to do to figure that out. So what's on our menu? So what kind of services do we provide? One of the things I want to make sure is I don't want people to think that we're this big mystery. And so it's important to know what services that we can provide. Assessing strength. So we're strength-based agency. Yes, when we're doing the eligibility, we're kind of looking at the challenges that you have. But once after that, we're really looking at what can we do to help build your strength? What can we do to help you be an asset for employers? How do we do that? We have a career development center. So that's where we're looking at skills and abilities, aptitudes, interests, achievement scores. This is where we're really looking at what your skills and abilities are and also helping you explore the world of work. So some folks may not really understand what type of jobs that they can get within our local labor market. And so we can do some exploration in that and seeing if there's the jobs that you kind of want available in your community. Or are you willing to relocate to other areas? And that's a big discussions that we have because as you all know, there are many areas in Alaska where it's difficult to get certain jobs because of where an individual lives. And they might have to make the decision, do I want to stay here and move to another location where I can get that job? Or do we need to look at other things that are in that community that still meets the needs of that person? Guidance counseling, I mentioned that it is the most important service that we provide. It's a free service and it really helps people have some insights into themselves, but also learn what's available for them. Assistive technology. We live in a day and age now where we're doing these Zoom calls. We have our cell phones. We have technologies everywhere, which is scary, but also beneficial for individuals with disabilities. It can help individual learning disability, with vision issues, with being hard of hearing or deaf. Even when somebody that may be quadriplegic relies heavily on assistive technology. But sometimes people don't know what's available, and we can help them learn what's available for them and get the training. And do you have a question, Ricky? Okay, just want to make sure. Ability training. Ability training can come in different ways, and I mentioned this earlier. We can help with ability training either through that's educational, vocational. Ability training can also be getting training on the various assistive technology out there. Another form of ability training is somebody that's losing their vision. They might be going blind and they need some orientation and mobility training that's helping them gain ability. So we're also looking at ability training in the sense of how can we build up either their skill sets or also help build up their understanding of their disability and getting them skills for that, or giving them the tools that they need to help address that. Collaboration with partners. we are the office that I am currently in. We're co-located with the Juneau Job Center. We have a variety of offices that are co-located in job centers. So we work a lot with our partners or other Department of Labor partners, tribal partners, um, school partners. Who we will work with everybody and anybody that can help our clients be successful. We can't do it alone. We gotta do it as a community. And all of those things is all about work. As I mentioned before, we're an employment agency. So at the end of the day, we're all about helping people get jobs. What should I expect from an IPE? On the IPE, there's the employment goal. Then next to that would be this different services to help you reach that employment goal. The cost of services and who will pay for those services. So when we're working with an individual uh, and we do out the plan and we bring in partners, we'll list on that plan who's paying for what. So everybody knows what type, who's going to pay for those services. And majority of the time, uh, it's going to be either us or those partner agencies that are paying for those services. Sometimes the individual says, I'll help pay for some of my services, which is great. It just depends on which ones they are. And we also we want to make sure that we're not um, uh, burdening the individual financially. So we try to keep that on minimal to what the person is paying for. But we do have a financial needs assessment. So we are, which is not an eligibility criteria, it's part of the plan. And where we're looking at what kind of financial resources you have. We set our financial needs assessment at 250% above federal poverty guidelines. So there might be some services that you'll be paying for as a result of where you're at on that financial needs. But those are just a certain set of services. The majority of services are ones that our agency will be paying for. The IPE also talked about rights and responsibility. What are your rights as a client of vocational rehabilitation? What are your rights within this plan? But also what your responsibilities are too. Prime example would be if we're assisting individual to post-secondary schooling, that they're responsible applying for the Pell Grant and seeing what they can get from the federal Pell. And there are other things as well as responsibilities, maybe following through with their treatment plan and all those kind of things. There's a lot of different things that could be part of your responsibilities. But it also lists what our responsibilities are too. We're working together. So it's 2 ways street. What is work? So I said our main goal is employment. So what does that look like? It's either part-time or full-time. Because we understand that many of our clients, due to their disability, is unable to work full-time. And they can only do part-time work, or as a result of their benefits, they can only work part-time. And we totally understand that and we respect that. Has to be paid. The individual has to be making at least minimum wage. Now we know in Alaska minimum wage is $11.73. And I'll tell you the majority of employers in the state do not pay that amount. And so we're focusing on helping them get paid employment at what the employers are paying at, not just at that 1173. So it has to be employment that's going to help the individual be at least self-sufficient. Now, what does that look like? It depends on where they live and all those kind of things of what self-sufficiency would look like. It could be self-employment. Statistics have shown that self-employment is a really good employment outcome for many individuals with disabilities. We will definitely have the individual work with the self-employment expert to do a business plan in looking at the viability, what is needed. But we have successfully helped many individuals open self-employment. Supported employment. Supported employment is where an individual is either receiving, let's say, Medicaid waiver services, where they will have let's say a job coach on the job with them as support. Either that person might need 100% supported employment, or they just need a little bit, but they just need some of that long-term support. We are not considered long-term support. We are actually considered time-limited services. Now, when I say time-limited, I don't mean when you apply, you have to be done with our program within a certain date. It just means there is a closure to our process, and that where other programs there may not be a closure. There is a closure to our program. I got a job, now what? So discussion about what support services are needed to maintain that job. Provide us with pay stubs. I will say that's one of the most difficult things that for us to obtain is pay stubs. Just because, person's busy working, things are going good for them, and they're like, well, I'm done with DVR. I got my job, I'm done with DVR. But as you all know, we're a program that's a state and federal agency that needs to show other people of the work that we're doing. Once the person is successfully employed for at least 90 days, we can successfully close their case. Now, many times we'll keep it open longer than 90 days because we just want to make sure everything's in place for that individual for long-term success. We don't want to just close the case when we still think, well, we're not quite sure. We just want to, so we will keep it open longer if we need to. I also want folks to know that there are tribal vocational rehabilitation programs in the state of Alaska. We have, I believe, 11 right now, and they're around the state. There's a variety of them. There's a link on this PowerPoint to the different tribal VR programs that we have in the state. They are a mirror image of who we are, but they're working directly with individuals who are recognized in a tribal program. Basically, they have an enrollment card and they belong to a tribe. And we jointly work with them on many of the cases, which enhances the services that's provided to that individual. So not only are they getting services from the tribe, but also getting services from us, which is a benefit as well, in the sense that there might be some sort of things that the tribe can pay for that we can't, and vice versa. But it's really up to the individual. If we have an individual applying for services and they inform us they're Alaskan Native, we'll inform them of the tribal VR program nearest them. And it's up to them if they want to, for us to partner with them. So it's still up to the individual on if they want to have other agencies involved.
Jim, we have a question in the
Yeah,
chat
sure.
box. Karen is asking, what's the average length of involvement with DVR?
Great question. Great question. And that also brings up another thing that I should have brought up earlier. So the answer to your question is, prior to COVID, I would say the average timeline was right around 2 years. Now it's about 2.5 years. And I would say the reason for that is it takes a little bit longer to get services done in the community, just because a lot of our partner agencies are overloaded with individuals, and it just takes a little bit longer to get some of those services done. And it also depends on where you live. If you live in a more rural, remote area where access to services takes a longer amount of time, services might take a bit longer. So I would say right around between 2.5 years. And a follow-up thing with that, I also wanted to mention about age of our services. And I mentioned transition services and adults. Our law does not state age. However, We usually will open a case with a student right around their junior year of school, sometimes sophomore, but most of the time juniors, when they're really starting to think about what am I going to do after high school. And then at the other end of the spectrum, we don't have any end aged. So we have worked with individuals in their 90s. The key thing is they still want to work. And we have helped individuals in their 90s get paid employment. So the age is usually right around 16, 17 to whenever. I have on here is a link to our public webpage, which has a lot of information about our services. And then also on that webpage, you can see, the bottom link is the one that to the page that shows all the different offices that we have and how to contact them. And that's all I have, unless there's any other questions.
Thank you so much, Jim. I don't see any questions in the chat box at this time.
Right before
I
lunchtime anyway, so everybody's ready for lunch.
That is true. However, I did visit your website and I see your executive director or commission, no, not executive director has changed.
Yes, so our current director, her name is Kate Duder. She is based in Anchorage.
Okay. So the previous director retired.
Correct.
He had been with the division for a while, right?
Yes,
Before
yes,
that.
yes,
Mm-hmm.
yes,
All right. Good info. Thanks, Jim, from Colin at AFTEC.
yep.
Thank you so much, Jim. You are wonderful. And as always, we are very grateful for your presentation on these absolutely necessary and amazing services that you guys provide. So thank you so much for your service
And
to Alaskans.
I just want to mention one other thing on the PowerPoint has my email address. So if you have later on some question popped up in your mind, or 2 weeks from now you're talking with a friend and you're thinking, oh, DVR might be a good, you can always email me. Even if you're not from Southeast, I can get you connected with the right folks.
That's excellent. Thank you so much, Jim. All
And
right. Well, thank you. Enjoy the rest of your day. Thanks for joining.
yes, and you all have a wonderful rest of Thursday.
Thank you. Bye-bye.